Hello, welcome back to episode 4 of The Scrum. I'm your host, Big Lez. I've got professional punter Aaron Macey and ex-footballer Darcy Lussick with me. Now, Mace, obviously you got a good record as a coach at Allianz, I'm hearing.
Yes, it was a big night for me Thursday night. I might have been fielding a couple of calls, maybe not. I coached the under-9s. We were 5-1. Very impressed. The Bondi Wall was up.
The Bondi Wall.
Well, mate, Bondi United,
Yeah.
the Bondi Wall. I was for a bloke who's made 9 tackles and 8 of them third man in. I'm coaching kids to tackle. It's unbelievable.
Screaming out and hit their head in.
It's like Les coaching people how to tip.
Well, I mean, I have to say it before, and I can believe it, to be honest. Obviously, this week as well, you got the bet of the week. Obviously, with the Sharks and the Warriors, Manly didn't get up, but you were the most successful out of all of us. Obviously, my bets were 2 for 4. My trifecta was 1 off from getting up as well. Obviously, with the trifectas, you only need 3 out of the 5 to get up and get paid, which is really nice.
He had like 100 throws at the dart and he only landed 2. That's the way I interpret it, but sure.
We talked about the fishing buddy aspect of it. I'm a fucking terrible fisher, I'll tell you that.
He's not Rex Hunt.
Yeah, no, definitely not. And then Das, how did Barry Crocker?
You know what? Can I just say something? You know, you landed it the week before. I think you played it really strategic. You were confident. You even threw out take your missus for dinner, and then you nailed it. And then you know what I saw? And mate, you went anytime. You really just went outside the square you live in. You got to be in that safe zone.
It's like my
Twitch.
life, you know. Like when everything's going smooth and nice, I just find a way to fuck it up.
Yeah, that's
keeping life within the lines.
And that's what I did last week.
Keeping it within the lines.
That's pretty much me in life. But with the betting, I try and keep it strategic and keep it tight. But all right,
we bounced back this week though.
We're both a bit unorthodox with the betting. I'll give you that. Let's talk about some of the key takeaways. There's a lot to dive into here, obviously, from round 4. Luke Metcalf, he broke his leg. He's going to be out for the next 8 months, it looks like. Really, really unfortunate for him. Obviously, was the starting 5'8" over Tamale Martin, over Chanel Aristeveda, who are both shoved into New South Wales Cup and have been playing there for the past few weeks. Looks like Tamale Martin's going to take that jersey now, but Luke Metcalf, he was so impressive to start the year. What are your thoughts?
He was impressive as well last year before he got injured, just before the semis. And I thought this year he come back. He looks like he's even faster this year. So, look, I think towards the semis last year they really missed him, and I think they're going to miss him now. So they need the other ones to step up now.
So who fills in for him now?
Tamale Martin comes into 6. I thought it was going to be Chanel Aristeveda because he played there last week when Metcalf went off, but no, Chanel's in the reserves again. He's going to be playing New South Wales Cup, it looks like. I don't know who the 6 is going to be there, but yeah, interesting. Really strange. But Tamale Martin's been going well in New South Wales Cup, I'm hearing as well. So hopefully that's a good little combo. That's what they had as the halves pairing at the start of last year before Metcalf even came in. So hopefully they go just as good over the next few weeks. But I just feel like with Metcalf's running game, he just provides something that Tamale Martin doesn't.
Yeah.
With his pace, his footwork, and he complements Sean Johnson really well. Having a completely different, not completely different, but a very different half coming in Tamale Martin. You know, we could see a few things change in the way that the Warriors play, and it might be really interesting to see how they go.
You know what, though? They still haven't put that 80-minute performance 100% together, have they? This probably just throws a little bit of a spanner in the works. So not ideal, but I'll be still tipping them later, and we'll talk about that.
Yep. Let's talk about Lachlan Galvin. Had an amazing performance. Usually when someone gets sent to the bin, you don't really have the best performance. I mean, Das, you have experience with that, getting sent to the bin and then coming out and having a bit of a Barry. But Lachlan Galvin...
This is bullying. We've got a HR department.
Yeah. Who do I complain
you guys
to
come
here?
after me after return serve, don't I? Fucking hell.
Speak to you later. Mate, look when you can see I was out at the game. I think they didn't pick it up at the time. I think they were trying to get to review it to see if there was a knock on there. But as soon as he seen it, you can see his head just drop. Like he was distraught. You know what I mean? And then to come out and that big play, you know, I think.
No, you go. Yeah, finish.
No, cut me off. Go.
No, you finish. Sorry, I apologise.
I can't
HR's going to have a mouthful after this. I'll tell you that for free.
No, I thought that, mate, I thought he started the year so good. He's so calm under pressure. I think, like, he's the next $1 million half for sure, because halves are hard to find these days.
You did, yeah. I think you labelled him a few weeks ago. You said you were pretty impressed with him. You know what it was with that? There was absolute. Can they take this into consideration? It was like when I used to try and make a tackle and just like jumped on, held on for dear life. It wasn't a hip drop.
Yeah.
It was like, oh, fuck, I've got to make a tackle
Yeah.
in like last minute.
Yeah.
And he's just grabbed on and
you can see there was
doesn't weigh anything.
There was no malice in it or anything like that. He was just trying to pull him down. But at the end of the day, it's like the obstructions at the moment. It's probably, they're not meant sort of doing it, but it's black and white. That's what it is.
Yeah.
It's sort of a grey area. But and I think he went off injured, but it's just, yeah.
Do you think there should be a grey area in discretion in looking at these sort of things?
We're going to talk about this in a second, the obstructions. I've actually got it in the notes because Graham Annesley has come out and talked about it.
What are you talking about, the obstructions or the...
Yeah, the obstructions.
The obstructions.
We'll get to that.
Yeah, we'll get to that in a second.
Sorry, Big Lez.
It's all good. Jumping the gun a bit there, mate.
What else is due?
But Lockie Galvin, it's not just the suspension that is, bad for him. Obviously, losing a spot too. Latu Fine is going to come in for his debut, but he also is now out of contention for Rookie of the Year at the end of the year, which is massive. And yeah, obviously a bit of an early crow with the first few weeks in the competition. I would have had him for sure. In terms of rookies that have come in to start the year, he's definitely looked the most impressive. And 18 years old, as well. Like it blows me away. As I said last week, that someone my age is coming out and killing it, and playing with so much confidence. And I think it could hurt the West Tigers too going into this week. Just the confidence that he played with, even when the West Tigers were in some tough situations, they were making a lot of errors. He still managed to pull them back into the game and had some really good plays. That try assist for Dream Buller was incredible. So
yeah, incredible. You know what? The thing that I loved about him, and it's that thing they used to talk about with like players like say Todd Carney or I've just gone blank. Who's the assistant coach at the Cowboys?
Maloney.
Yeah. Jimmy Maloney was a prime example of a player that could throw an intercept.
Yeah.
Throw an intercept and then create the play of the game and just put the whole team on his back. Where then you've got players like Paul Brett Kamali threw an intercept and he was gone for 3 years.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like
I remember Trent Barrett said that to us. He used the same example. He said Maloney, he would laugh about it, but then that the next play wouldn't faze him and he'd make it. But
this kid did the same thing. He had that moment where, like you said, straight away looked up and went, fuck.
Yeah.
But then he's just come back on the field and put the Tigers on his shoulders.
And as well, Bud Sullivan hasn't played much footy over the past 2 weeks. Yes, he's been sitting at 14, but he played none of the game on the weekend, and he played, I think, 5 or 6 minutes the previous week. So he's played barely any footy. And coming from a Dragons side where he was labelled a hooker, they said, you're not a halfback, you're not a 5'8", you're a dummy half. This is how we're going to use you. If you don't like it, you can go elsewhere. So obviously he wouldn't have too much confidence coming in, to this West Tigers environment where, obviously in a battle with some less experienced halves for a jersey, and a Lockie Galvin maybe gets the jersey before you as well. You're then relegated back to the bench as that 14, that hooker, not playing much footy. I don't think, and look, I could totally be wrong about this, but not having too much confidence either with his current role. I think that just the confidence thing for me, when you're looking at Galvin and Bud Sullivan, I think could be a massive difference in how they play going into this week. Let's talk about the Tigers though. Massive upset. Obviously, get the chockies myself. Called that one. Lovely. One of the many tips that I got right during the week.
I can't wait to touch on the Canberra game, but we'll get there.
Yeah, well, look, let me just talk about this and get my confidence up before you pull me right back down again.
Yeah, let's have his 2 minutes of fame go.
Exactly. The Tiger, look, Lockie Galvin, obviously a big part of that. Dream Buller has been one of the more consistent fullbacks for me over the past few weeks. Everyone's talking about Edwards, the ups and downs of Tedesco. Callum Ponga, obviously not in the best form consistently at the moment. And Dream Buller has been averaging 150 metres every single week. He's been, getting that 5, 6, 7 tackle busts every single week. He's been so consistent and no one's talking about it.
I don't think you're being saying no one's talking about it. I think a fair few people are talking about it. I want to touch on that game. You were at that game. Parramatta, the 5'8", Blaze
Talangi. Yeah.
Blaze Talangi. What did you make of him in that game?
I thought every time he touched the ball, he was dangerous. I thought he was good. I thought that 5'8" is probably his position. I think he was in the centres last
week. Yeah, he was in the centres last week.
5'8" could be his position. But then, you have Moses.
And Brown. Yeah.
But I watched the game on TV, and there's times where I was like, "Oh, Brown's with the ball," because I swear he had half on TV. Half looks like a clone of Brown.
Yeah.
And then because they had the jersey switched, I was like, "Oh fuck, Brown looks good."
Yeah.
Hang on, no, this isn't Brown.
Yeah.
I actually thought he looked more dangerous with the ball at times than what Brown did.
Well, I see that St. Georgia, with Lomax trying to say, well, Parra can have Lomax if you give us plays. I wouldn't be handing him up.
No, not at all.
No way.
Well, it's funny you mentioned that they're like pretty much the same player because they both had around 115 metres. They had very similar stats coming out of the game, and a big part of that as well was their defence as well. I think they both had near 15 to 20 tackles each. So, a big game for them. Blaze Talangi, you say 5'8", is probably his position. I thought he looked a little bit more, just with his running game, a little bit more like a fullback. Obviously, he has come through as a fullback over the past, few years.
I think Galvin's more of a playmaking half, where I think Blaze is probably a little bit more of a running half. That's been it's such a small piece of data to look at him. But the commentary after the game was, funnily enough, they said, "Oh, Gavin," because they won the game. They were a little bit harsh on Blaze. I thought he stood out. I thought he played really well.
Second game,
I thought he played enormous, honestly.
But just watching that game, I thought the Tigers, Benji's got a response out of them now. They're playing for Benji. I seen that Galvin came out after and said, Benji's giving him so much confidence. Tell him just to play what's in front of him. But their defence, I think Parra attacked their line 6 sets on the line, and then they weren't going for penalty goal. They go, "Oh, we'll roll again," because usually you expect the Tigers to give up a try. But when they kept going, and then I remember they knocked the ball on, and then everyone was in, and then they marched Parra up the field. So if they just get a little bit more, they got some good young kids. They could be a good team in the next couple of years.
One thing with the Tigers, and like I said, I do not think they'll be getting the wooden spoon. And their 1 to 17 is very good. It's that next 12 after them that probably could be the concern. So I think if they can stay injury free and we don't have too many hip drops from little Lockie Galvin, I think they will definitely win a lot more games. So I don't think they'll make the 8, but I think they'll be probably just knocking off some teams.
And what they've got in their favour as well, my brother's obviously been in the South development system over the past few weeks, and he's obviously got to watch a few Magpies games because they've been out west versing Parra and the Tigers at some stages. And he says that the Magpies is probably the best team he's probably seen in New South Wales Cup at the moment, just with how they play. Latu Finu's apparently killing it there. So they've got the juniors as well over the next few years when some of the big dogs retire to still be a competitive side, which is scary.
One thing with the Tigers, they've been very good at blooding. I think they had Teddy and a few really good juniors, but they've let them go.
Let them go.
So it's going to be interesting to see now with Benji at coach if they're going to be able to hold on to some of that amazing young talent that they have.
I agree. Let's move on. Tyson Gamble has been dropped. It's the second week in a row now out of 4 weeks where we've seen a new halves pairing for the Newcastle Knights. I don't like it, to be honest. I think that they should have just kept Hastings and Gamble in there at least for 8 weeks to start the season, just to let them gel, get set into the season.
So you don't think Cogger should be in the side?
I think Cogger should be the 14, or at least they should have gone with the side they had at round 1 and just kept a bit of consistency in there, because we know with sides that consistently change their spines, particularly their halves, who don't have enough time to gel, it is trouble signs. With Brisbane, it probably won them the spoon a few years ago.
Yeah. But all right, so let's start. What are your thoughts? You've played in sides with obviously different halves combinations. What do you think?
Well, it's a tough one, isn't it? Like, you train all pre-season with that same half that you would have trained. Those two halves, they were trained all pre-season. Your back rows get used to them all pre-season, and then after 2 rounds they're gone. But sometimes there might be a bit more behind the scenes. Sometimes the coach is just trying to get a reaction, but it's a hard one when you keep chopping and changing. I was at a team once, and every week you didn't know who was in, who was out, chopping and changing. You couldn't get any cohesion, and it was a nightmare, to be honest. And especially with the halves, there's such crucial
plays in the team.
Yeah, because the back rowers, have their time, or spend all preseason getting their timing off them. The centers. They're just looking for a reaction up there, I think, but they haven't got it so far. I think they've been awful.
Yeah, I think the thing with those 3 players, I think if you look at a lot of sides, you look at Manly last year, pre Luke Brooks being there, you didn't know who they had a definitive half, but you have that 5'8". Was it Schuster? Was it someone else?
Yeah.
And then you've got certain sides where they've got their flagship halfback or they've got their flagship 5'8", and there's probably one or two kids that are vying for the other position.
Yeah.
This is a team that has 3 of those players. Not one of them has, I think, really put their hand up and said, I'm the definitive half. You two need to sort out who's playing with me.
Yeah.
And so as much as I get your point, it's not good to be changing. I think at the same time, I think he's trying to work out which combination of these two works best.
Yep.
And I'm not 100% bagging it. I think he's trying to work it out as quick as possible.
Yeah.
Because right now the synergy hasn't 100% been there, and as you know, it's hard to build synergy. Yeah. But you also need to trial things. Yeah. Like you do need to trial, and when you don't have a Thurston or that definitive half, and you're trying to fit someone to work with one, mate, he's got to work out which of the 2 or the 3 is there.
And like in the preseason, they would have been training so well. You know, even the worst teams in the competition train like they're going to win the comp in a preseason, you know what I mean? So until you get some people running at you and whatnot, but, you know, I think until they get an answer, like you said, someone has to stand up there and say, I'm the half, I'm going to lead this team. Yeah. You know, whether they think, because Ponga's back there, he's leading it, but no, you need the one of the halves to lead it.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's going to be interesting to see how they go and what direction they go in over the next few weeks, and I think it is better to do it now rather than in round 20, you know.
Wait, you just said you were bagging it.
Well, I am. I think it's concerning. I think it's concerning that there have been, you know, frequent changes and they haven't actually let the halves gel over a 4-week, 8-week period.
Yeah.
But I think it's actually better to do it now in round 4 than to do it in round 20, Definitely. Round 21, round 22. But look, we'll have to wait and see with the Knights. Let's move on to Lomax. Obviously, it came out yesterday that he has been released from the last 2 years of his contract, so he'll be a free agent as of next year, and it looks like Parramatta's the club he's going to land at.
Is Ben Hunt sitting there singing Shannon Knoll, what about me?
Ben Hunt's a, you know...
He's been kept hostage.
He's a half, but I just... Like, he's on, what, 800 grand to play on the wing? Like, is he giving that up? Who else is going to pay $800,000 for a winger?
I don't know. Is he taking less to try and win a few more games?
Yeah, I don't think so. You know, I think he's. You know, the only reason that I could think that you're giving up that is you know that you're going somewhere else and you've been offered something else. You know, I know that you're not allowed to, you know, negotiate while under contract, but it happens. It happens, and whether he's being told, if you get out of your contract, you can come and get this year and you can play fullback for $800,000 a year or. But you know what? I hope he goes to Para this year because it'll be good. They need him.
Do you think that's the play for Para? Maybe they say, come here, you play maybe 1 or 2 more years at centre, and then you're going to move to fullback. Gutho's going to go into the centres for the last, however many years.
Could it be the transition of Gutho out?
No, they won't get rid of Gutho.
No, there's no way they're getting rid of Gutho.
So me personally, I've always thought Parramatta to win a comp can't have Gutho at 1. That's me. I think Gutho's the ultimate 7.5.
I completely disagree because he consistently gets them out of trouble 100 times.
He got him
out
of trouble 20 times in the week.
He did.
100%.
Yeah,
defensively.
There's something about Gutho. Mate, he's a very solid player.
I think the transition for when Gutho finishes, Blaze will go to fullback.
You think you'll
go
back to
fullback?
Think. Okay.
All right, we'll have to wait and see. And obviously with Blaze playing at 5'8" on the weekend, it maybe there's a spot for him there in the halves, potentially when Moses obviously gets to that peak period towards the back end of his career.
You think that every club is always trying to do something behind, whether it's above board, but they're always looking who's available, who's not happy here.
Yeah.
Can we fit him in? The manager says, we haven't had contact with anyone. They've had contact.
Yeah.
Everyone has contact.
But as for the Dragons, though, their backline is just left in shambles.
It is very
having a I would call Lomax one of their marquee players in that side.
He's played really well this year.
Yeah, I know.
He's been probably one of their standouts. But
for sure. Let's see what happens with this situation. I'm hearing that maybe Melbourne are in the talks as well. And because obviously with Ramus Smith and his injury concerns, there might be a spot opening up there, but we'll have to wait and see. Let's talk about Terrell May. I'm sure you're happy about this one,
I was very
Mace.
happy. I love when that shit pops up on Instagram.
Obviously re-signed 2 years, $1 million extension, so $500K per season. It's big money for a forward, but I think it's worth it with Terrell May and what he can offer you going down the track as well.
How do you rate him as a forward?
Yeah, I think he's solid. Yeah, definitely solid. I think at the moment he works well in that rotation there with Jared and Lindsay Collins. Like Lindsay Collins, he's the elite. You know what I mean? So I think he's good when he comes off the bench. Yeah, I think he's a solid player.
Yeah.
I was looking at the side, like, we'll just touch on that Roosters forward pack quickly. Obviously, Spencer Linnu's not there at the moment for obvious reasons, but he'll be coming back somewhat soonish. Like, where do they fit them in? Like, you've got a player like Suo Wong, who is not in the side. How do you, like, you think you've got Satili Tupanua, you've got Nat Butcher, like, that is a stacked forward pack at the moment.
Makes it so much harder when Angus Crichton has a blinder too on the edge.
100%. Like that's like that is. I reckon it's one of the most stacked forward packs, and then depths in the forwards at the moment.
Well, Darcy, tell me now, and I'm going to throw a bit under the bus here. What's your ideal bench for the Roosters? If you're putting together 14, 15, 16, 17.
You putting me on the spot there.
Yeah.
Who usually plays the 14?
Connor Watson.
Yeah, you'd have Connor there for sure.
First pick.
You wouldn't have Sandon? Or when he comes back from injury?
You're asking the wrong person. Ask him. He's the Roosters man.
Don't ask me because people might be a little bit.
Would you? So I'll throw you a better question, a bit easier to answer. Would you take out Tupanua for Wong?
It's hard.
Do you know the player? And people shoot me for it, and he's Mr. Solid, and the coach would never do it. But I'd take Nat Butcher out.
I couldn't do it. His defence, 62 tackles on the weekend.
I sent that to a mate and he said, you know what that tells me? He's been left out there too long. But he's rock solid.
It'd take me 4 games to get that many tackles.
Exactly.
That was a career.
Exactly. It's such a hard decision for the Roosters, and I'm keen to see what they do over the next few weeks, how that rotation looks come September football. Now, we obviously talked about it before, but the obstruction rule. Graham Annesley came out yesterday. I think it was Brad Walter, one of the NRL reporters. Was struggling to find the word there. Graham Annesley came out to the media about the obstructions, and obviously had to with the past 2 weeks that we've had and some really 50-50 calls. And obviously people are just calling, let's go back to black and white. Let's go back to black and white. And he's basically come out and said, we were black and white a few years ago, and all the criticism that we were getting was, it can't be black and white. It has to be.
Got labelled racist.
Yeah. Well, pretty much. But they wanted to steer away from black and white and sort of get to more common sense.
So from a player's point of view, how do you look at it?
Look, I think the best example is the other week, Manly and Para, when Trebojevic sort of stopped in the line. I think it was Moretti was going, but he was never going to get there. Like he'd already given up on the play. But at the end of the day, Trebojevic was in the line. He stopped in the line, which you can't do. And then, do you move to start going, will the video ref go, would he have got there or wouldn't he got there? I think that's too subjective.
It's got to...
You know what I mean? I think it has to be, he stopped in the line. You can't do that.
Yeah.
Whether he's going to get there or not. But but everyone knows that he wouldn't have got there.
Yeah. Even if Jake
and what about on the Joey Manu one on the weekend? Obviously, everyone's
Is that the one when he ran right through there?
So it's the fullback got stopped 20 metres away.
Yeah.
See, I think that something that obvious, he's not going to get there.
So do you think we need a combination of both black and white, but when it's needed to bring in common sense?
Yeah, but then, I don't know if you can have both. It's frigging hard, you know what I mean? But it's just like... I think there was one in the Warriors Melbourne game the other week. Well, he ran on the inside shoulder, and they said that the Melbourne player, I think it was Hughes, made the read to sort of come in and got stuck and then couldn't get back out, but he'd made the read.
Yeah,
and then it cost the Warriors a try, which is crazy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's just like it's like sometimes they just make it up as they go, and it's frustrating as a fan when you watch, especially when it's your team.
The biggest thing that I think a lot of people might not realise is it's a product to be bet on.
Yeah.
So many people are wagering on these games, and if you're getting beat by a refereeing decision, it's not good for it hurts, but it's not good for the overall product. I don't know, they need surely they've got smart enough people in there. They've got to be able to get this decision right. And I think if you're in the bunker and you can't be making these decisions, I can understand a ref getting a call wrong during a game. That's human. But if you're sitting there and you can't work out what's right and what's wrong, I think it's pretty fucked up.
Yeah, I agree. It's hopefully they fix it over the next few weeks because it is, it's becoming more and more frequent now. We're having these decisions.
We shouldn't be having the discussions about these refereeing decisions. We're just stressing about how good the try or tackle was.
Exactly.
We'll be here next week saying the same thing.
100%.
Yep.
All right.
Let's get into the preview for round 5. We've got the Storm and the Broncos first up. Obviously, the line being 6.5. Wins at this venue. Melbourne at home, are 75%. The Broncos are 21% at Melbourne home. What are we thinking here?
I think the Storm have the wood over the Broncos. Munster back this week.
Yes.
Yep.
Jerome Hughes back.
Hughes back. That's a massive bonus back at home. Broncos still have a few out. Give me the Storm all day. 6.5. I will happily take that.
Yeah.
Mace?
I'm the exact same. I think they get their spine back. I think they've still looked pretty good considering they're also coming off the bye, which is... I think they'll come out with fresh legs. Bellyache's so good to get them really revved up at home. Obviously, stats say Broncos don't play well down there either. And I think they're still lacking a few things.
Well, in their last 10 meetings, Melbourne Storm have won 9 of those games. Yeah. And they've averaged 34 points scored on Brisbane as well. So I'm looking to go with Melbourne here. I think they do get the job done. I think Munster's a massive in. Hughes, it's so strange when Hughes is more of a running half. You don't notice this structure that he actually adds to that side. Him as a leader, as a general in that team. I think they missed that so much with Wishart and Pezzett in there. Pezzett was quite good, but I thought that Wishart, he's more of a running half. He's more of a 5'8", and it showed against Newcastle.
They certainly lacked a bit of cohesion.
Yeah. So I think that Hughes will come back in. He'll add the structure. He'll add the kicking game, which has been really good, obviously, last year as well. And then Munster's just going to add a bit of that spark. I am still a bit worried just to find out if he is 100% or if they're rushing him back. But we'll find out.
I don't think they're the sort of team to rush him back.
Yeah. So Melbourne.
Melbourne.
All right, cool. Bulldogs and Roosters. The line is 10.5. Bulldogs at home win 53% of games. The Roosters away from home at Bulldogs ground win 49% of their games. So it is quite even in the stat sheet. What are we thinking here, Darcy? I'll start with you.
I'll go Roosters. Look, Bulldogs have shown glimpses of that, that they're improving, but I just don't think they just haven't got the class at the moment, especially in the halves, I don't think. And I think the Roosters will cover the line. So put me down for that.
Yep. Mace?
I want to say a few things about East in this. Last week, they played against Penrith. Yes, they were missing 2 of their key players, and we're missing Lindsay Collins. And obviously a few penalties didn't go their way. But I just want to say the coaching brilliance of the Penrith coach, that team just taught them an old school fashion line speed in defence, line speed in attack, just getting past that advantage line, kicking the corners, holding the ball, playing really basic footy. Yes, they got a couple of calls. Mate, they just dominated that East Pack early. They were they were so impressive. Penrith. In saying that, one thing with East, yes, they did have that one call. They did come home late. And as much as I think they were flat as attack, early, and things didn't go their way and it really showed, they still only got beaten by 6 points. And I still think Penrith are the benchmark. Then you've got the Bulldogs coming off, just getting beat against South, who have been an absolutely woeful side. I thought it was light years, completely different levels of form. I think, and the Roosters so far have been on 1 week, a little bit flat against Manly, really up against South, flat. This looks like it's going to be their on week. I think they could put a cricket score on the Bulldogs.
Yep. And obviously the stats go with the go with the Roosters as well, with 9 of their last 10 meetings winning. And funnily enough, I know it's going to be the dumbest stat you'll ever hear, but Roosters' record at the moment is win, loss, win, loss. So if you go down that metric, Roosters should win.
Well, that's it. I just think they've been up 1 week, flat the next. I think they're going to be really up for this, and I think they're going to be extremely hard to beat.
Yeah, I agree. I'm going to go with the Roosters as well.
They're one of the bets of the round.
Well, we'll find out. I'm going to go the Roosters as well. Knights and Dragons. Knights are obviously not having the best record against the Dragons, which is weird considering coming into the year, we obviously have the Knights way above the Dragons, and then the Dragons come out and they as well are very 50-50. The line is 7.5. The Knights winning at home is 55%. The Dragons winning at Manly ground is 78%, which is insane. And then if you look at some of the stats here as well, Newcastle have won 73% of their games against St. George. However, in their last 14 meetings, the Knights have won 4 and the Dragons have won 10.
Fucking some big stats for the Dragons there, isn't there? Darcy, kick us off.
Look.
Can't wait to watch it. I can see the enthusiasm bouncing out here.
I'm just thinking, Jesus. The Knights have not been good at all this year. Obviously, Hastings back. Maybe they'll get a spark, but Dragons, geez, I don't know. Put me down for the Dragons. It's an absolute flip of the coin.
Yeah.
It's scaring me a little bit to do it. Dragons were a lot better last week. A lot better. I'm loving the fullback. He's playing really good footy. Playing full confidence. Mr. Sloan. But I think this is going to be the best halves combination for the Knights. Yeah. And there were patches of their last game where I was like, ooh, they actually look decent with the ball at times. I think they're really due to have a big game at home. I think the crowd's going to be there. I think they're going to lift. I think they're going to get the job done. Am I super confident? No, but I think they'll win. And I think they may just cover the line.
Yeah, well, as well, towards the back end of that game against the Warriors, that left side seemed to be really humming. And obviously, Cogger's going to be on that left, you'd imagine, being at 6 this week. And Cogger, he's got a really good running game, which, we wouldn't really talk about much with how he played in that grand final, obviously being a bit more direct, playing more as a 7. I think 6 is actually his best, and I think that he's going to show that in this game. However, I am going to go the Dragons. I think that Sloan is in some pretty decent form and has been somewhat consistent. He's just getting in there for a dig. And I think that Ben Hunt has really saved them in some key games as well with his kicking game and his direction. So I'm going to go the Dragons. I think the Knights just have a little bit more to work out for me going into this week, especially with a new halves pairing. Rabbitohs and Warriors. The line is 1.5. Wins at this venue. Rabbitohs win 57% of games at their home ground, Accor. And the Warriors win 39% at Accor, and the stats lean heavily towards the Rabbitohs, which is what I like. In their last 14 meetings, the Souths have won 14 of their last 15 meetings against the Warriors, including an 8-game winning streak in there as well, and that's been recent. So stats leaning heavily towards the Rabbitohs, and that's who I'm going to be going with. I think that, coming off last week, a little bit of confidence. They still have a bit to work out, but Warriors with a new halves pairing, I think it could make a little bit of a difference. What are you thinking?
I'm going to go the Warriors. I'm going to stick solid with the Warriors. I think that, if Finor Blake turns up, which he does every week, I think he can really get them on the front foot. Look, if they come out and put a couple of tries on the Rabbits early, I think the Rabbits could drop their heads a little bit. Yeah, and I think they can run away with it. So put me down for the Warriors, and I think obviously cover the line.
Nice.
Obviously, the half going down to massive 5'8", 5'8", sorry, for the Warriors. Had that not happened, to me, the line should have been 10.5.
Yeah.
To South. And they literally fell in against the Bulldogs. The Bulldogs have not been good. That was, to me, not a quality game. I still think the Rabbitohs, their forward pack is really lacking at the moment. The Warriors have a really solid forward pack. I think they could get steamrolled in the early, which I think will... One thing, like being a half, when your forwards are going forward, it makes it a lot easier to fill in and do a job. Yeah. And I have a feeling the Waz forward pack could absolutely bash the South forward pack. Mate, I wouldn't be surprised to see the Waz put a bit of a cricket score on.
Well, that's the only thing that's sort of leaning me towards the other way, but I think it's more about need for South Sydney. They need to get some wins on the board. They need to just start to get a bit of momentum there.
I think they need a forward pack at the moment.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Their forward pack and their rotation seems to change every week, and especially with the rotation that they've had, with Cheekham only playing 5 minutes at the back end of a game where Johnston came off with an injury, and that's the only reason why he came on in that 14 jersey. It just concerns me. That forward rotation, it doesn't look like they've got a plan there yet. The forwards is the only thing that could sort of steer me the other way, But as I said, I think for me, it's more about need for South Sydney. I think Latrell needs to stand up and have a big game, take some more runs. He only had 10 runs on the weekend against the Dogs. Have more runs, get more involved. If he does that, I think South Sydney are a sniff, and I want to go with, you can call it the underdog. The Sea Eagles versus the Panthers. This is probably going to be one of the tougher ones to tip. Obviously, Sea Eagles coming off a loss to the Dragons, and pretty poor loss as well. A lot of errors in that game. Sea Eagles just did not look how they looked the previous week, and from what we've seen from them in the trials either. But I feel like they need a bounce back week. They've got the team to do it. Paseka, Aloye, really solid through the forwards. They just need a few less errors out of those guys, and I think they should be okay. The line is 3.5. Seagulls win 61% of games at Brookvale. Panthers win 45% of games at Brookvale. What are we thinking, Das?
Yeah, so when I watched that Eagles game last week, I thought, what the hell? Like, I couldn't believe how poor they were playing, and how flat they looked. And then I watched the Parramatta game, and they were so flat as well. Obviously, that game, Para versus Manly the week before, really took it out of both their teams. I know my brother was saying that sort of took him a while to recover after that intense game. So I think the Eagles will bounce back, but I just think the Panthers will they're just too classy at the moment. So I'm going to go the Panthers.
Yep.
I want to ask one quick question.
Yeah.
How big of an advantage is it for Manly playing at Brookvale Oval? Like,
it's massive. Like, teams hate going there. It's like it's improved now. They got a new they put down a new surface. Like, it used to be the worst surface ever.
Yeah.
The change rooms was shit. It's like it's old facilities, but Manly love playing there, and other teams hate going there. I reckon there's a good couple of points in there for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, you know what's going to throw a real spanner in the works in that department? So Penrith have won their last 9 out of the past 10 meetings against the Sea Eagles, and they've won all of their games at Brookvale Oval, the Panthers.
Yeah, well, there you go. That's a big stat. Little stat man.
Yeah.
Getting into a swing.
We played a game there versus the Panthers. I think it's like the biggest comeback ever. They were up by 20 or something, and they come back and beat us by 22 points in the second half.
Yeah, wow.
So that was probably the start of their run, actually.
You started
I started it, and then I got out of there.
I think I said at the start of this year, I reckon Manly are probably really good smokies when they're about $26. They're a team that I liked. I thought Luke Brooks was going to be a massive signing, and they were going to be a team that I probably wanted to tip to upset some really good sides when they are at home at Brookie. Just because of what I saw last week of Penrith, that they are just so impressive, and they're really going to have to lift the Eagles on what they did last week to beat this Panther side, because they are just really still top class. I'm leaning to the Panthers. I think I'd want 6.5 to back the Eagles, and I just think the line. I think they've got the line a little bit short. I'm going with the Panthers. I think they can cover. I think 4 points is enough, definitely.
Yeah, for sure. I think that the Panthers will win this game, and obviously the stats back it as well. Bad omen for you blokes. Let's move on to the next one. Obviously, the last game of your Super Saturday is the Dolphins and the Tigers. The line is 4.5. Wins at this venue. Dolphins at home win 44%. Tigers at Dolphins home, and obviously they've only had one game between them, are 45% at that specific venue. I believe they're playing at Suncorp.
Yep.
So what are we thinking here?
Look, I'm going to go the Dolphins. I think their form's been pretty good. Tigers.
Top of the ladder.
Yeah, I think Tigers were good. I think they'll lose Galvin. I'm not too... is it Fine? How do you say his name?
Latu Fine.
Finer, yeah. There's no really form off to go how he is, but there is big raps on him. So put me down for the Dolphins. Also, Benji's coaching against his brother.
Yeah,
that's pretty weird, isn't it?
Yeah, wow.
Yeah, there you go.
I don't know if it's ever been done before.
That's interesting,
You
eh?
should know that stat, man.
Yeah.
Well, I've got other stats here. I focus on the important one.
I've got other stats.
I've got better stats.
Yeah, exactly. You'll get my stats.
I want to know this. Can you come back next week to answer that question, please, Mr. Les?
Yeah, we'll do.
Thanks.
Start of this season, I wanted to bag the Dolphins a lot. They're on top of the ladder. I still don't think they'll make the 8. They were impressive last week. Their backline is really bloody good. I think their forwards do a job. Yeah. The halves are still questionable, but they get the job done. Had Galvin been playing, I'd be tipping the Tigers. Galvin now, at this point for me, is an absolute massive loss.
Yeah.
And there's been this crazy little omen that the last 2 weeks that Benji's got to play golf before the game. I don't know if he gets to play golf, so I'm tipping against that omen. I'm going to say Dolphins to cover the 4.5.
Speaking of omens, the last time that these two sides played against each other, the Tigers won by 1 point. Tigers won by 1 point last week. And obviously last year as well, they had 2 games back-to-back where they won by 1 point. So if you want to go for that little omen there.
Tigers by a field goal.
Tigers by a field goal, you can go for that omen. I'm not, because I agree with you. I think I think Galvin is too big of a loss. So I'm going to go against my omen. That was very well crafted. I'm going to go for the Dolphins. I think that Tom Flegler has been outstanding and had some really good stints last week.
Yeah.
And what's so unorthodox, Jesse Bromwich has for years been a really old school front rower, just run hard, tackle hard. But coming into this year, and we saw it in the trials, he set up a try with a short ball. He's playing more like a lock forward at the moment. And so is Flegler. Flegler the other week set up a try with a short ball as well. So they're getting a bit of ball playing into them. That is so dangerous and so unorthodox and so unlike what we've seen from Jesse from the past few weeks as well, and Tom as well, being that just run hard, tackle hard bloke. But they're both in really good form, good nick at the moment. They've come off some really good games. Yeah, I think the Dolphins win this one. And you talked about the back line. It is just unfair at the moment. So I'm going to go the Dolphins. Cowboys and Titans. Now, again, one of the weirder games to tip at the line at with the 7.5 line. 17.5 line. There you go. It makes it even weirder. But the wins at the venue, obviously Cowboys at home win 54%. Titans at Cowboys home win 20%. And the Titans are in shambles. So
kick us off, Darth.
It sort of worries me this because I've seen the footage of Des going berserk in the change room after.
You know what that's like.
I know exactly what that's like.
How does that make
when
you
he gets
feel?
up? I see when he got up in close, like pointing in their faces. I've had that before. It's not nice. It's not
Did you
nice.
speak to HR?
No, I couldn't. But but you know, he would have been. That would have been a tough week at the Titans this week. Tough week training. I'm gonna go the upset this week.
I'm with you.
Yeah.
You call it Jew factor. They call it. One thing with the Cowboys, they can be quite slow starters.
Yes.
And they can, and they seem to be. I'm starting to think they're a bit more of a touch footy side than an actual NRL like to tackle those defense. So the fact of when you're giving away such a big line, it's going to be a scary watch. I don't know if I've got the balls to be able to do it. I just think you get the kickoff, you start the game 17 in front, and you get to,
I think they cover the line.
and they can. I reckon Titans are a chance of. Do I think they'll win? Probably not. But do I think they can lose by less than 17.5? Yes.
All right. Well, just some stats to back up the Cowboys. In their last 10 matchups, the Cowboys have won 75% of those games when they've played at Cowboys home. And Cowboys have won 6 of their past 10 matches against the Titans as well. If you want a bit of a try-scorer multi, I'll give you a bit of a try-scorer multi exclusive to BTFU. Kyle Felt, he's got a 55.7% strike rate against the Gold Coast Titans. It's his better side to score against. So definitely going to be considering chucking a few on responsibly, of course, on Kyle Felt. Maybe even 2 or more as well. I think that he's got a good strike rate there. But I think the Cowboys, they've worked so hard in the offseason and it's been well documented on their defence. Obviously, last year, they were, towards the back end of the year, looking less of a Todd Payton defensive gritty side. Obviously, coming into the trials, we saw a bit more of this, tough through the middle and then really solid in one of the better defensive teams. Over the past few weeks, they've sort of, crescendoed, or not crescendoed, but decrescendoed in that aspect. I think that the Cowboys, Todd Payton's would have given them a massive spray.
Yep.
Going after last week, and I think they're going to come in really solid defence against a side that's struggling at the moment, through the middle especially. And I think that the Cowboys could put a bit of a cricket score on the Titans, so I'm going to go the Cowboys.
So I'm going to intro this next one because we're going to talk about the Raiders. Last week, a man opposite me, he got very, very confident. Very, very confident. Bet of the round, super confident. Told me so much about how the Sharks were lacking middles. And I was watching the game and it's like, they've scored. They've scored again. It's 18-0. How big was your sword? It would have been up. You just would have been just slapping yourself going, I am the champion. Then how does it feel? What happened? Tell us where it all went wrong, Les.
The Cowboys were just too fast for them in the end, weren't they?
The Sharks.
Well, the Sharks. Yeah.
That's how
Totally rattled him.
I'm trying to forget about it. I put it in the past. No, the Sharks were too fast for the Raiders, and that shocks me a bit too, going into this week against the Eels, who are going to play that fast game of footy. But yeah, no, I'm going to try to put that game behind me, a bit of PTSD there. But you'll be happy to know I'm going with the Raiders again this week, so haven't learnt my lesson. Obviously, the line for this game is 1.5. Wins at this venue for the Raiders at home is 59%. Eels at Raiders home are 26%. So there is a bit of a, I guess, advantage at tipping the Raiders here. At home, Sticky would have been absolutely going off his chops.
I love the interview. No one was solid. Yeah. No, don't give anyone a compliment. They tried to give at least one player a compliment.
Yeah, he would have been going mad down there this week. And Raiders back at home, I'm going to tip the Eels, obviously, but I think it's a real dangerous game. Like, it is a dangerous game. So, put me down for the Eels, but the Raiders could very well turn up.
I think they're going to need more than their magic clap before the game for this. I cannot believe that. I can't, for starters, believe that they're favourite. Like Mitchell Moses playing, the line would be one of 17.5. I thought the kid Blaze Tangalungi, however you pronounce his name, I thought he was phenomenal. I think he'll only get better this week. I think they still lacked a little bit of structure. I think Brown will improve again. He gets another week working together. Mate, this Eels team is genuine. It looks a genuine top 8 side. The Raiders are they're going to be a big chance for the spoon.
To throw another spanner in the works for punters, in their last 10 matches, they're 5 from 5. So they've got an equal record here going into this one, which makes it so much harder to tip. We talked about Sticky having a blow up. Obviously, these guys are going to be up for this game. Morgan Smithies, Joe Tarpanay, and Josh Papali'i, over the past few weeks have been sensational for the Raiders, and that's probably one of the reasons why they started so well this season. And then you look at their defense as well. While, not having the best game towards the back end last week, they are 38% equal on both sides for conceding tries, so their defense on their edges is quite solid. And then look at the Eels. They've conceded 56% of their tries on the left, being Sevo, Harper, Simonson. I think Sevo, he is so 50-50 and so hard to tip with his consistency. And James Schiller obviously impressed a lot in the trials. They're going to be throwing a lot of ball down that right-hand side. Yeah. And I think that Schiller's going to have a field day out there scoring a heap of tries. I think the Raiders do get up for this one. I think it will be that 1-12 margin, but I think that the Raiders do.
Was confident as last week? I just want to know.
Look, it's definitely gone down about 25% in confidence, but we'll see how we go. As I said, throwing fishes out on the line and seeing if we can catch anything here. Obviously, my punting record doesn't speak too kindly. So just hoping for the best.
I want to try and change something for you because you always go first for your scrum. Let's kick off with Darcy scrum and see if we can change the...
Well, I need to change something up from last week. All right, this week I have Storm -6.5.
Yep.
I have the Roosters head-to-head.
Yep.
And I have the Cowboys head-to-head.
Yep.
Safe. We need you to take your missus out again this week for dinner.
Well, the missus is having a field day 2 weeks in a row.
What's that paying? Did you see what
it's
that was paying?
270 on CrossFit there.
Pleasure. That's all we need.
Beautiful.
That's all we need. All right. I am going,
cheap
and
dinner.
I've gone the last 2 weeks. I've gone 2 out of 3. One, there's been that real bad upset. I'm going the Roosters head-to-head. I wanted to do it line, but I'm just going safe. I just want to get this home for the punters. I've got the Warriors head-to-head.
Yep.
And I've got Para head-to-head. And that comes to $4.50. I think it's great value at the $4.50.
Well, you guys are going very safe. Obviously, I learnt too much from last week. I'm going to go Melbourne head-to-head. I think they get the job done there. I'm going the Roosters head-to-head. Again, haven't learnt anything from last week. Mace's Roosters let me down last week, but I'm going with them again. And then I'm going to go the Cowboys 13+. As I said, I think there's going to be a cricket score here for the Cowboys. I think Todd Payton's going to drill them this week with their defence and their attack as well through the middle, especially with being a man down the Titans with Tino out for the year. I think that the Cowboys can really put a cricket score out here. And for most of that game with Tom Deard and with Chad Townsend, the Cowboys, they had their glimpses. They had their moments when they looked really good. Scott Drinkwater in attack, not so much catching the footy, but in attack looked quite good. So Cowboys 13+. And then Manly and the Panthers to be over the 40.5 point line. It's $9.52 on CrossBet. All of our bets, Darcy's multi, Mace's multi, and my multi are all going to be under the BTFU hub. So make sure you go ahead and click on that BTFU hub on CrossBet. If you're going to have a punt with anyone, make sure to do it with CrossBet and make sure to gamble responsibly. Lads, it was great having you on again. Hopefully I get a bit more luck. Hopefully you get a bit more luck too.
If he goes through the season without tipping a multi, does he do a nudie run?
Yes.
I mean, at least let me keep the budgies on for my dignity, all right? Like, if I lose the budgies, then we're in all sorts. But yeah, as I said, thanks for coming on again for another week. And
thank you,
as I said, hopefully we have a bit more luck.
What are you prepared to lose today? Set a deposit limit. For free and confidential support, call the number on the screen or visit the website.